Hey gang, Uncle Todd and Sonny here. And for our next foray into sea monsters, we've got a bit of a different one. Whereas opposed to being created by science or evolution gone crazy, we have instead a sea monster from outer space. Destination inner space. And man, what a cast we have in this one. We've got Scott Brady, perennial tough guy who played in a lot of crime films like He Walked by Night or westerns like Johnny Guitar. But later on, as he started to fill out, as most men do as they get older, he also did TV work, and some of his more fantastic films, like this one, include Castle of Evil, Nightmare in Wax with Cameron Mitchell, Strange Behavior, which is a New Zealand slasher film populated with mostly American actors, like Louise Fletcher. And his final film, he played the sheriff in Gremlins. Opposite him, we have Sherry North, who started out her film career as one of many blondes that were promoted by the studio system to compete with Marilyn Monroe. And of course, once Marilyn Monroe passed away, a lot of them also were dropped by the studios, Jane Mansfield and such, and began to eke out a different career. She did a lot of TV work, but some of her Marilyn heyday films were Lieutenant Who Wore Skirts and Best Things in Life Are Free. Her later career, mostly as a supporting player, included Winter Kill, the Walter Matthau neo-noir film Charlie Varick, where she hooked up with Joe Don Baker as an assassin, or he was, not her, and John Wayne's last film, The Shootist, where she played a former girlfriend, and probably for my generation, best known as the love interest of the Maniac Cop. We also have Gary Merrill, who was a popular actor in the 50s with films like 12 O'Clock High and All About Eve. Some of his genre credits include The Woman Who Wouldn't Die, Run, Psycho Run, and Earth 2, the Gene Roddenberry pilot that starred John Saxon. We also have Wendy Wagner, best known as Lenore Case on the short-lived Bruce Lee show The Green Hornet. Some of her other work included the films Out of Sight, Covenant with Death, and Rosemary's Baby. She had been a one-time wife of Jim Mitchum, Robert Mitchum's son, but like most of her marriages, they ended in divorce after a short time, and she kind of dropped out of Hollywood, and no one knew what happened to her until after she passed away, as she lived a very quiet life, away from all the hubbub. We also have Mike Road. You may not recognize his face, but you most definitely recognize his voice, as he was a regular at Hanna-Barbera, supplying voices for the Flintstones, Johnny Quest, Space Ghost, the Fantastic Four, Birdman, Herculoids, and the new Scooby-Doo movies, and the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. And our last big name here is a personal favorite of mine, Biff Elliott. He is the first actor to play Mike Hammer on screen in I, the Jury. He's an odd choice considering he's not actually that big a guy. But they played up to that if you've ever seen the film, where it kind of heightened the suspense when he got into fights and things because he was not like 6'2", 250, the way he's described in the books. He never really attained star status. Either jury, like most of Spillane's adaptations, really didn't take off in film. This, along with Vengeance Is Mine and Kiss Me Deadly, and I think even The Girl Hunters that starred Spillane himself, those just were not successes. Unlike TV, in which both Darren McGavin played Mike Hammer in a popular syndicated version, and then in the 80s, Stacy Keach had a 3-season run as Mike Hammer and then brought him back again in syndication. Some of his film credits include House of Bamboo, PT 109, The Navy versus the Night Monsters, and The Dark, about an alien invader that likes to get quite a body count. And in all of them, he either played soldiers, government agents, or policemen. That was kind of his stock in trade. We open with Scott Brady as our hero, playing Commander Wayne, who is being called in for a super secret mission.
You got here sooner than we expected.
The department said it was urgent.
Well, Dr. Lassiter seems to think so.
Oh, and you don't, huh?
Well, I don't know what to think. There's something odd going on down there, that's for sure.
Hey, that's Roy Barcroft there as the captain of the ship. Perennial bad guy of serials and westerns at Republic Studios. Also, main villain in two of my favorite serials, Manhunt on Mystery Island and The Purple Monster Strikes. Anyways, what's down there? Well, our commander has to take a diving bell down to a sea lab that's on the ocean floor, where he meets Dr. Perrone, Sherry North, who he has an immediate attraction to, and Dr. Lassiter explains why he's been called.
The object has returned. It's moving closer.
How long has it been out there?
2 hours. Yesterday it appeared for 15 minutes. Last night, 1 hour.
Wonder what that thing could be. Well, they go see Dr. Wilson, Biff Elliott, who studies underwater sounds. And this sound is like no fish or vehicle he's aware of. It's ultrasonics, barely able to be picked up. They only get a ray signal.
Now it'll move away. Seems to stop transmitting before it moves out of sonar range.
Okay, so it seems to know about sonar. Well, they had sent out a diver, Maddox, and a photographer, Sandra Wilson. Sandra Wells, who they have this kind of a romantic, not romantic relationship, Anyway, she goes off to develop what picture she's been able to get, and Dr. Lassiter, head guy, he tells Maddox about the Navy sending up someone to help them.
They sent out their top submariner. I think you know him, Commander Wayne.
You're not serious.
I don't understand.
Welcome to the club, Doctor. A lot of people don't understand Commander Wayne.
Seems they have a history together of some kind. Somebody needs some love and ear scritches. Don't get jealous. Anyways, Wayne and Perrone, they flirt a little over coffee, and then whatever this thing is, returns and has the temerity to buzz the C lab. And we get our first look at this thing. Not a bad model. Oh, but wait till you see what happens after it lands on the bottom. Interesting. Well, back at the lab, Maddox and Wayne are planning to go out, as is Wells, because, you know, she's going to take pictures. And we get one of the most unintentionally hilarious moments in the entire film.
Listen, Miss Wells, you better stay behind here in the atmosphere.
Good luck, Commander.
Thanks, Doctor.
What's the way? All these problems are getting me down.
Seems our sailor had a little trouble there with his belt. But he got it. Anyways, the three of them make it over there, and they get inside this strange ship.
A spaceship?
Yeah, it's completely automated. A remotely controlled probe ship. Probably sent here to study our oceans.
Look at this.
Hey, it melted. Well, I am sure that they'll be very smart. You know, unlike the people at the beginning of the thing that conquered the world and made some mess ups, and proceed with caution.
Better leave that thing here, Maddox.
Till I hear differently, Dr. Lassiter is still in charge of this operation. He didn't send me along just to keep you company.
Or you could bring an entirely alien object that you don't know what it does or could be filled with aboard an underwater base. Yeah.
And stupid.
Yeah. Let's see what they can figure out about it.
35 kilocycles. Barely out for sound. But it's there nonetheless. I'd say it's an instrument package, Commander, but don't ask me what it's for.
Yeah. It's always a smart man who knows what he doesn't know. Wonder how they're going to proceed.
Well, there's one way to find out. Cut it open.
And stupid.
Wow. Scientist. Anyways, Wayne talks Lassiter out of it because, which is a good thing. Because later, while Wilson and Patron are working,
It's almost doubled in size.
Ultrasonic waves.
If they become intense enough, that acid bottle will shatter.
foreshadowing. I'm sure he'll be fine. They'll get him to the infirmary or whatever. But more importantly, Wayne and another crew member, they got to take care of those acid fumes. Oh, a jump scare. Wayne better think of something quick, or he's going to be a goner. Clever. Got locked in there. Of course, he wants everybody to evacuate, which they don't want to do, and Maddox wants to go in to get Tex. And he doesn't believe this stuff about a creature, but after some blows, we get a little more information about their beef.
You know you can't open that door, Maddox. You want to flood the whole sea lab? There should have been plenty of time for both of them to get out. He's a real pro at leaving men trapped in flooding compartments.
I told you it attacked Tex. There was nothing I could do about it.
Okay. Seems there was something to do with the submarine accident. That's the animosity between the two. No time to worry about that, though, because the creature breaks through a wall to the outside and heads up topside.
Request you send surface units this area immediately, equipped with depth charges and...
Would you repeat? Would you repeat?
Urgent. Request you send demolition units this area immediately to destroy submerged spacecraft. End of message.
Well, looks like no help's coming from topside. He also cuts off the air feed. That's a pretty smart creature. They have switched to a reserve tanks, which only have 12 hours. So, Wayne proposes to head up to the surface and try and get the winch going so he can get everybody out of there. So he and another crewman grab some spear guns and go to change.
Watch it, Mike! Watch it!
Okay. Looks like they're not getting out that way. This, of course, leads to another heated argument between Maddox and Wayne, in which we find out that problem stemmed from a flooded compartment on the sub, and Maddox had the compartment sealed. And Maddox blames Wayne for all those deaths, except there was an escape pod that was in there that would have saved them all. So why was Maddox the only one to survive?
When I got into the escape chamber, something inside me snapped. I slammed the hatch and locked it. And then I froze.
You never know what a man's breaking point would be or how he'll react in a tense situation. And his guilt made him feel angry towards Wayne, so that he blames him for his ultimate failure. Well, they have to deal with this monster. So they set up some booby traps. But he doesn't fall for them. So they're going to have to go outside and deal with him mano a monstero. Well, now that Maddox has redeemed himself, they get the creature back into the lab where they heavily sedate it. The main guy, he plans to get it back to Washington where they can study it in some real labs. You know, where they can get supplies easy. Meanwhile, Maddox and Wayne, our new dynamic duo, head up topside, where they get the pump working so they don't have to worry about the air. Radio's trashed, and the winch is fouled, so they can't bring everybody up. Especially Dr. Wilson, who's in pretty bad shape. You know, what with acid, fumes, and sonic damage. Anyways, there is a supply of dynamite on the ship, which they take back down with them, because Wayne figures they're going to have to deal with that ship and all those other canisters that were in it he saw. Now, while they're preparing for that, Wells and Maddox finally have a tete-a-tete, and it turns out she would still want to be with him, but he can't live with himself. Every time he would look at her, he would be reminded of his failure, and he knows that she, despite what she says about not caring, would eventually, it would eat at both of them. So he breaks it off with her. for good this time. Well, they start heading over to the ship, and wouldn't you know it, the sedation wears off. I think we can guess where he's going. Well, the now terrific trio, because Wells is going along whether they like it or not. And they find there's another canister being thawed out, and they start planning the dynamite.
Get ready to make a run for it, both of you.
No, shoot!
Stand back! Now, hurry!
Yep, he's going to sacrifice himself so that they can get away. Yeah. Full redemption. Well, let's look at the wrap-up.
Now know that somewhere in space there's a civilization of beings equal to, if not superior to ourselves. We never knew that for certain before. We also know that somehow we have to find a way to communicate with those beings if we ever encounter them again. That's what you have to tell them at the press conference, Doc. That you are the one man with the knowledge and experience to find that way.
Okay. Big press conference. Gonna meet the president. Well, I think the only thing we've got left is one more last flirting scene between our leads.
You think you know it all, don't you?
Oh, I know a little.
Well, Commander, you still may have a few surprises in store for you.
Really? Like what?
The direct approach.
Oh. Well, there you have it. Destination Inner Space. Not a bad film. Pretty low budget, but still. It's got some good points to it. There's some good drama between Scott Brady and Mike Road. You know, a little back and forth, but just enough unsaid that you're kind of interested in what the beef is about. And then, of course, you find it, and Road gives a pretty good performance there, you know, going on about his faux tough guy act, and then showing that he really was a coward at that one moment, and he's been trying to prove that he's not, and finally being able to, you know, it's a good performance. You know, he has a good character arc. Well, the whole cast is really good. You got, you know, like Gary Merrill, who's the scientist who so full of curiosity he just doesn't think of the proper safety concerns you should have, and laments things, you know, like the destruction of the first alien being to visit Earth, even though it was necessary, you know, that kind of stuff. Biffelli doesn't have much to do, although he gets a pretty good, well, I wouldn't call it a death scene, but injury scene. You know, it's probably his high point of the film for him. And Winnie Wagner is just kind of doesn't have much of a character to do, but then she is kind of the secondary love interest for the secondary hero. But Scott Brady and Sherry North, I like them together. I, for one, being an older guy, kind of like seeing a couple with early romantic feelings, you know, that's not in their 20s. They're obviously hitting 40, and hey, there's still some life left in them, despite what you young kids might think. Anyway, there's some good action in it. If there's a downside, some of the model work looks a little too obviously model work, and the suit has an unfortunate baggy look about it. because the stunt actor in the suit has to have an oxygen tank on the back for the underwater scenes. So it had to be built for that, and you can't have it like empty when he's in the land scenes, because then it'd look weird and flat. So it's got this kind of odd shape to it. But they do make him pretty menacing. One point is some of the people he's injured get infected from him because he's an alien and has, alien viruses and DNAs that are not of our own. And I like how smart he is. It's a very Creature from the Black Lagoon kind of smartness. The way that one, would kind of block them from leaving the lagoon, and he blocks them from leaving the space lab. But he's also smart enough to understand about communication. So, really interesting. I like the aspect that in order to make the trip, they keep them in little capsules, and then when the capsule melts and they're ready for it to go, boom, out it comes and grows full size and can do stuff. It's different. You don't see that all the time. And all in all, an enjoyable film. A little silly at times because, the costume and such, but good performances, and a little suspenseful there, especially at the end when they're trying to get the dynamite placed. Although that goes over pretty quick. That's less than 5 minutes of screen time, and them dealing with the monster and the dynamite and everything. But that's just a quibble. I enjoy the film. Well, that's about it for this one. Please hit like, share, and subscribe. And stay after the credits for my favorite scene.
Well, somebody must have given you a pretty bad time.
Wrong again, Commander. I just know a lot about men.
I bet you do.
For your information, I've lived with 5 of them.
Oh? All at once?
Yes. I grew up with 5 older brothers.